skills for meditators, class 7. We're going to talk about the 3 dimensions of space. When you say 3 dimensions, so what's that? So there is one space and it has 3 dimensions. Exactly. That's what we're going to talk about and how it's going to help us in meditation, how it can focus our meditation and where exactly we've got to focus. So we see that the first, you can say, space is called the great space, the Maha Akash. This is the space you see around you. Your body is stationed in space and in time. This is the external space that we see around. It's obvious that anything has to be located in time and in space, and this is this external space, also called elemental space. There is then, it's called the Maha Akash. Maha is great, Akash is space. The next space is Chittakash, the space of the mind. Even the mind to exist in a particular location has to be located or stationed in a space. You cannot have something existing which is without any dimensions or without any kind of location. So this is the second. Okay. So mind also is located in another space. But there is a fundamental difference. When a body is located in space and in time, this includes the brain also. So whatever we think, dream, imagine, see around us is also in the elemental space or great space, Maha Akash. The mind has 2 broad divisions. The objective mind, in which we see and dream and imagine and all these things, that's an objective mind. It is in elemental space because that's a brain out here, it's there. But the subtle mind, the subtle aspect of the mind, the psychic mind, through which one sees or experiences super sensuous things, that mind exists in that Chittakash, the mind space, the mental space. So the subjective mind is there in the mental space. That's the psychic part of it. There is another space called the knowledge space, Chidakash. Chidakash. So we have these 3, you can say, aspects of space. First is the outermost dimension is the great space, elemental space, the space that we see around us. Inside us is the mind space, Chittakash. Now remember, the mind space means the psychic aspect of your mind, the subjective, the subtle aspect of the mind, that is in the Chittakash. And still deeper is the knowledge space, Chidakash. Chit is consciousness. Consciousness space. Consciousness space, yes, we'll get down to it. Now, where are these 2 spaces? They are, as it were, curled up inside. It is not something floating outside or somewhere. They are here. And that has to be understood. Within that great space, Maha Akash, is the mind space, Chittakash. And within the mind space is the knowledge space, Chidakash, consciousness space. Okay. Now, every object, whatever there is in this world, very strangely, I would not say strangely, but in a very mystical way, is a combination of all the three spaces. The Mahakash, the Chittakash and Chidakash. But it is in the humans that it is extremely palpable, extremely discernible. The human being itself is a result of these three spaces, three dimensions of space. Every person has three dimensions. The external space, this, because this body is here, but this external world is an extension of the body. If this external world wasn't there, this body will not survive. So this is the external space our bodies are in. Our brains are situated in the body, and all perceptions and cognitions, dreams, memories, all these things fall in this great space. The subtle aspect, the psychic aspect of the mind, the subjective mind, falls in the mind space, Chittakash. And curled up still deeper within is that consciousness, likened to a space. So, the human being is a result of all these, you can say, three spaces. Now, when we start to meditate, where exactly do we encounter this three dimensions of space? It's unbelievable, but they intersect and interact in these various levels within the spinal column. Yes, people have some kind of half-baked ideas of the Kundalini and then the Sushumna and the Ida and the Pingala, the two currents which kind of curl around the Sushumna, the central canal where the Kundalini rises. These two, Ida and Pingala, they are, as it were, located in the great space, the elemental space. They are the energies that run. And as the Sushumna opens up, we enter into what is called the psychic space. So when we open the Sushumna through the Kundalini, as it rises, we go higher and higher, we enter into that psychic space. Layer after layers of the mind are open. And as we rise up higher and higher, once you come down to this part, you will find you are entering into the knowledge space. So till here, this is the material space predominates. As you come here, the psychic space predominates. As it keeps on rising higher, the psychic space expands, and then the knowledge space, consciousness space expands here. So the higher you rise, the more the knowledge. So at every level, the lowest is the Mooladhara, the root receptacle. Higher is the, as you see those various lines there, the lowest is the Mooladhara. The higher one is the Swadhisthana, which is, near the sexual organs. The third is at the navel, Manipura. The fourth is at the heart, Anahata. The fifth is at the throat, Vishuddha. The sixth is here at the Agnya, and the seventh is here at the top of the head. Sahasra, 1,000 petals. So it is on this level, on these particular levels, that these three dimensions of space intersect. We are individual and cosmic. This has to be understood. Cosmic forces intersect with the individual forces at these various levels. This is the meaning of the chakras, where cosmic forces, material forces, as well as psychic forces, as well as those consciousness forces interact with the material and psychic. It's a remarkable. That's the reason why they say you have to kind of awaken these very centers. What happens? That awakening happens when all these three forces are recognized. They intersect, they interact. It is not a simple kind of lotus or a kind of a circle out there and we are meditating. It has much deeper implications. There are tremendous implications here. You are, as it were, trying to manipulate the cosmic, the universal forces at that point. So it is in the human beings that these points of intersection are there within the spinal column. Now, if you cut open the spinal column, you won't find what happened there. Like I said, these are subtle, psychic, you can say, centers. And as we keep on awakening the lowest center, you understand that here the knowledge space, as it were, the Chidakash, is, as it were, completely covered by the elemental space. And even the psychic space, Chittakash, is completely subdued. So the first three levels are dominated by the great space, elemental space. And the knowledge space and the psychic space are, as it were, curled up, sleeping. That's why it's called the Kundalini is sleeping, as it were, coiled up. And as it rises, here you get the first stirrings of the psychic space. It's like a rocket bursting up in your chest. And as it keeps on rising and rising, that is those interactions between all these three types of spaces. They start kind of manifesting, unfolding, and as it unfolds higher and higher and higher, we get down to this, where there's only this consciousness space. Okay. So these other two, you can say, it's like those 8 figures of 8 stacked one over the other. They are the Ida and Pingala, as well as the orange, as we know, is the Maha-Akasha, great space. The yellow is the psychic space. The white is the, you can say, consciousness space, Maha-Akasha. They kind of, they form into a kind of a band. 3 triple forces, triple dimensions, all curling up around you from top, and when it comes down to the Muladhara, it again comes up here, and again it, you can, snakes up. It snakes up and snakes down, and the place where they intersect, up and down snaking, that is the psychic centers, the great space and the knowledge space. These are tremendous centers of power. These are tremendous centers of awakening. These are tremendous centers of universal psychic forces, cosmic forces are flowing down into you. Like your body would cease to exist if there was no external space. Similarly, the psychic self of yours would cease to exist if the psychic space wasn't there around. And that consciousness space is there outside as well as inside. So these are the centers of intersections, not mere chakras. After this, we find, okay, now this is understood. How do we practice it? How do we get into that particular intersections of these three spaces? We've now located where exactly they range up and down the spinal column, the Shushumna Nadi. But how do we practice this? We know it, okay. There is one and only one method, and this is the most effective method, and that is the mantra. Oh, yes, we have spoken about the mantra. Each mantra has three dimensions. The Mahakash, the great space, which is individualized, the psychic space, which is the cosmic space, and hidden within that is the consciousness space. Each mantra has three things. Like every body has three dimensions, these three spaces. Every mantra also has three dimensions. If you take for example, Om Aing Ramakrishna. Om is that Chidakash, that consciousness space, knowledge space. Aing is the cosmic space, the subtle psychic space. And Ramakrishna is that personalized, individualized. Even if you do not use the three syllables of a mantra, just take one syllable. When it merges into the silence, that is the knowledge space. When it emerges out, that's a psychic space. That is the great space, the Mahakash. So every mantra, every syllable, especially of Om, has these three aspects, these three dimensions. Everything, it has to be. So when we repeat the mantra, what do? We are actually interacting with these three dimensions of space at that particular level. And as we keep on repeating slowly, step by step by step by step, it starts unfolding. As the mantra unfolds, so do the psychic centers, those centers of intersection unfold. Every mantra, as we have explained before a number of times, has three aspects also. Shabda, Artha and Jnana. The sound aspect, the meaning aspect, and the knowledge aspect. The sound aspect is the Maha-Akash, great space. The meaning aspect, the psychic aspect, is that subtle psychic realm, Chitta-Akash. And the knowledge aspect of that mantra is that knowledge space, Chidakash, consciousness space. So every mantra, every word actually has these three dimensions. It's not only the dimensions of space. These dimensions are everywhere, in everything. In the human beings, mammals, In mammals with a spinal cord, it is possible for it to be awakened, but it is only the human being that consciousness takes on the quality of self-consciousness. That's a tremendous gift for humanity that God has given us. So these three spaces can be kind of awakened. One space will lead to the other and the other. Where exactly? They are ranged out here, and they are awakened through the mantra and nothing else. Now, we have also mentioned sound, meaning, and knowledge. You hear a sound and you associate a meaning with it. Cow. The image also flashes in your mind, and you have the knowledge also. So when I say the word cow, simultaneously the meaning and the image also flashes in your mind, along with the knowledge, of course. This is the mantra. This is the three dimensions in the mantra. And those three dimensions in the mantra help to awaken those intersections, interactions of these various levels. So as you keep on repeating the mantra from the grossest part, you start entering into the mantra, into its psychic dimensions. And as you keep on repeating and repeating and repeating, you enter into its consciousness aspect. This is called mantra chaitanya. The mantra is now awakened. And they say 100,000 times of repetition of a mantra awakens it. And as that mantra awakens, it will help awaken this. So we will, as you say, practice this repetition of the mantra, but with an image. You can, for today's repetition, we will use the mantra Om Aim Ramakrishna. Okay. Now I want you to also visualize Sri Ramakrishna while you are repeating the mantra. It's very important. If you do it without the meaning flashing in your mind or the image, you are doing only the basic repetition on the level of the great space. The moment you bring in an image and also the meaning associated with that, you are, as it were, engaging the other two dimensions within you also. There are many people who say, oh, I keep on repeating. Yeah, but then you should keep on repeating and also think of its meaning and also visualize it. The name Ramakrishna is the figure of Ramakrishna. The meaning of Ramakrishna is that he is the embodiment of all gods and goddesses. Om is the higher dimensionless consciousness space. You know, space does not have dimensions. Everything located in space has dimensions. So we say the external space is expanding and expanding and expanding. The vaster space, mind space, psychic space, that also expands. We can hear things, supersensuous things from a distance. And so there is no break in space. It is here, it is there, it's everywhere. And so we feel it here mainly in this way. So we would like you now to sit down straight, quietly, close your eyes please. We are going to meditate and repeat the Om Aim Ramakrishna mantra while visualizing Ramakrishna here. or ear or wherever you like. Okay. So close your eyes, please. Breathe deeply. Become aware of your breath, please. Now breathe naturally. Don't breathe deeply or anywhere. Just breathe naturally and become aware of your breath. Repeat along with me, please. Om Aim Ram Krishna. Om Aim Ram Krishna. Om Aim Ram Krishna. You are repeating it mentally. Om is this Chidakash, consciousness space. Aing is the Bija mantra, which is the psychic or the subtle space of the mind. And Ram Krishna is the Maha Akash. Remember this meaning as we once again repeat it and try to visualize Sri Ram Krishna within you. Om Aim Ram Krishna. Om Aim Ram Krishna. Om Aim Ram Krishna. Keep on repeating this mentally with focus. With focus. You are, as it were, part of this great space, this psychic space, as well as that consciousness space. All these three are within you. They are outside you also. They are within the mantra also. Repeat with devotion. Om Aim Ram Krishna. Om Aim Ram Krishna. Visualize Ram Krishna. Remember its meaning. Om Aim Ram Krishna. Om Aim Ram Krishna. Om Aim Ram Krishna. Repeat it quietly, please. The Om is the Chidakash. Aing is the Chittakash. And Ram Krishna is the Mahakash. All these three dimensions are intersecting there over those centers around your spinal column. Awaken them. Om Aim Ram Krishna. Om Aim Ram Krishna. This is how you can unravel those. They are called the Chit Jad Granthi also. The knot of consciousness and matter. Granthi is kind of a knot. They arrange. So as we keep on repeating the mantra, we, as it were, untie those knots, the material knots, away from the consciousness knots. And as we free that consciousness from its coverings of matter and mind, it shines by itself. It is that one consciousness, the supreme consciousness, that appears as the great space, the mind space, as well as the consciousness space, limited by the body, delimited by the body, and delimited by this world. So wherever there is great space, there will be always there will be a mind space, Chittakas. And wherever there will be a mind space, there will always be that consciousness space. Wherever. From the smallest to the highest, from the smallest atom to the greatest galaxies. These are dimensions, these spaces, of that supreme space. Enter into it, it belongs to you. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We stop here for questions.
Question. When I focus my mind on a picture of God with open eye, I'm able to avoid all thoughts. Does this make any sense? This focus is similar to focusing on a body part and feeling the pulse?
Well, if you can keep your eyes open and focus on the picture of God, what we have taught you in this Trataka is perfectly all right. Why do you think that this is the body part? What do you mean the body part? Are you completely defined by your body, or are you something more than your body? All of us feel we have a dimension even greater than our body, isn't it? So by focusing on the figure of God, we are focusing step by step into the higher aspects of that image or picture. Besides the mind that's running about hundreds of times all over the place, for one moment of one session, it is now stilled in one place. That releases energies. And throbbing, forget the throbbing for the time. When you're focusing on the picture of God, focus on the picture of God, intensely gaze at it, close your eyes and see that same picture burnished inside in your mind's eye. So if you keep on doing this over and over again, you will at one point of time, you will not need an external picture of God. That picture of God will be kind of burnt, as it were, in your mind. Yeah.
No more
Okay.
questions.
We stop here. We see you again next Saturday with another aspect of skills that meditators can use. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.